There are preppers who used to call ammo the new gold until they tried selling it. Now entire closets packed with dusty cases are worth less than a couple tanks of gas. So how did we go from treating Full Metal Jacket as currency to watching it rot in sealed cans and online listings with 0 bites? In this video, we'll talk about how preppers are watching their ammo hoards lose value fast and the 6 brutal reasons why. From forgotten calibers that no one shoots anymore to guns that break and leave whole stockpiles useless to poor storage that turns brass into garbage, it's all adding up to thousands in lost value. We'll also dig into panic, buying mistakes, shifting laws that crush resale value, and the cold truth about ammo bartering in real-world emergencies. If you've ever thought ammo never goes bad or that you can always sell or trade it later, this one might sting. Because what used to be a safety net might now be dead weight. Back in the late 2000s, every gun counter pushed 40 S&W like vitamins, so hordes of concealed carriers sealed away case after case thinking they owned the future of personal defense trade. Fast forward to 2015 and police departments, competition shooters, and most major manufacturers come home to 9mm again. The resale boards show the carnage unopened bricks of 40 S&W ammo sitting for months at half what buyers paid during the 2020 panic. The same fate stalks 5.45 by 39 once the darling of AK collectors. Without cheap Russian surplus demand withered, and every crate sitting in a dusty garage now resembles a bad crypto investment. Oddball carbs eat into prep budgets too. Think 7mm Remington Magnum or 16-gauge birdshot. Fantastic rounds in their heyday, but nobody stocks them at the corner store anymore, which kills barter value. Walk into any rural buy-sell trade night, and you'll see boxes of 32 Auto 25 ACP, even 35 Remington priced like antiques, because that's exactly what they've become. If your ammo can't feed common police carbines, ARs, Glocks, lever deer guns, or 22s, it might as well be casino chips from a closed hotel. Collectors sometimes argue that scarcity breeds cash, yet scarcity only pays if demand stays alive. When newer platforms eclipse a caliber, the market shrinks to a handful of diehards on forums, and they already have lifetime supplies. Preppers who stacked rare rounds forgot the golden rule: usefulness first, rarity last. Build your stash around what shops truck in by the pallet today. Otherwise, the dollars you buried under the floorboards will fossilize right next to that ammo nobody shoots anymore. Even if you find a desperate taker later, shipping hazmat fees will bleed any slim profit you imagined, leaving you worse off than if you had burned the cash for heat. Quantity feels like security until reality throws a wrench. I used to chant that mantra myself back when surplus 5.56 was 20 cents a round, and the mailman hated me for ordering whole cases. Then the extractor on my only AR sheared after an ill-timed dry fire during a range class, and suddenly the mountain of cartridges behind the safe became an inert sculpture. Guns break, parts get scarce, and when you pin all your beans on a single platform, the universe loves to test you. One friend took specialization to Olympic levels, 5,000 rounds of 10mm auto stacked neatly beside 2 identically tuned pistols. He felt smug until an out-of-state move slashed his carry weight allowance and local buyers balked at freight costs. He offloaded 6 cases at 40% loss just so the movers would take the rest of his kit. A diversified cache of 9mm 223-308 and 12-gauge could have ridden shotgun in any future handgun, carbine, hunting rifle, or loaner shotgun he picked up. Another overlooked trap is component interdependence. A prepper who hoards only belted magnums discovers that powder burn rates, primer sizes, and even headspace gauges differ wildly from general issue rounds. Reloading gear multiplies, storage space shrinks, and folks forget that SHTF logistics reward simplicity, not boutique precision. Remember how Soviet surplus 7N6 vanished overnight after the ATF ban? The shooters who owned several calibers shrugged and rotated to cheaper food. The purists were left with collector relics nobody could feed. Diversification doesn't mean chasing every shiny cartridge. It means owning at least 2 platforms that share ammo with the majority of citizens in your zip code, then keeping modest overlap, so a catastrophic malfunction doesn't neutralize half your investment. The point is resilience, not bragging rights. Ammo is insurance, and any good insurer spreads risk across multiple assets, not one single liability waiting for Murphy's signature. Before you buy the next mega crate because the price looks irresistible, ask yourself whether you'd accept it as payment if the roles were reversed and you were the one holding the empty wallet. Most ammo doesn't die of old age, it dies of bad stewardship. The chemistry inside modern primers will tick along happily for decades if kept cool, dry, and stable. Unfortunately, many preppers trust cheap plastic bins, leaky sheds, or damp crawl spaces. I have pulled mold-spotted 12-gauge hulls out of a basement where the dehumidifier was broken for one monsoon season. The brass bases looked serviceable until we twisted a shell open and the powder appeared clumpy like instant coffee. Corrosion is sneaky because it starts under the case mouth where you never check. Microscopic moisture invites galvanic action between brass and lead, creating verdigris that eats neck tension and spikes pressures. Fire that round and you gamble with your chamber wall. Even superficial patina shaves value. Buyers discount anything beyond mild discoloration by 20%, and full-blown green fuzz makes resale almost impossible without resorting to tumble tricks that further risk damage. Temperature swings wipe out more dollars than rust. In an attic that sees 40 degrees Celsius days, then chills to 20 at night, sealant eventually cracks. As air exchanges inside the case, nitrocellulose breaks down and acidity climbs, weakening the brass. Open a heat-cycled box after 5 years, and you may find primers that crumble, turning your investment into range pickup trash. Burying cans only changes failure modes. A surplus-style ammo can with a fresh gasket buried 2 feet under clay may survive. Yet one nick in the paint invites pinhole rust you never spot until excavation day. Vacuum bags around battle packs help, but rodents treat plastic like dessert, and gnawed polymer equals mud inside. The cure is systematic rotation and climate control, not hope. Store what you intend to shoot within 5 years, shoot what ages out, and refresh your cache like groceries. Long-term retention demands airtight cans, desiccant, and a room that feels like a wine cellar. Anything less, and you're stockpiling future scrap metal. Think of it as currency. You wouldn't stash cash in a puddle, so don't leave ammunition to drown in humidity, temperature shock, or rodent jaws that chew straight through your retirement plan. Price memory is cruel. During the lockdown rush, a single box of steel-cased 9mm hit $60 in some cities, yet people gladly threw down plastic because forums screamed that buying late was better than going without. Those same cartons are $20 a box today, meaning early birds burned $40 on every 50 rounds. Scale that across cases and families forfeited mortgage payments, chasing scarcity that never fully materialized. Panic buying inflates twice, first on initial hype, then again on social media arbitrage. Online scalpers snapped up distributor allotments with bots relisted them within minutes, and desperate shooters clicked. A buddy in Texas paid $800 for a case of plain Jane Federal brass convinced riots would spill into the suburbs. Last month, he sold the remainder for $350 just to recoup gas money. Fear robbed him of $450 and a chunk of sanity. History shows cyclical shortages every election or major disturbance, but supply rebounds once factories crank 3 shifts and imports flood docks. Investors who treat ammunition like GameStop stock forget carry costs, storage insurance, and the opportunity cost of money sitting in a closet. If you can't move product quickly, you are not a trader. You are an overly insured landlord for someone else's future range day. Bulk purchase makes sense at normal prices when practice volume matches consumption, yet responsible preppers separate training ammo from emergency reserves. Instead of flopping your credit card at maximal markup, maintain a predictable buy schedule that respects seasonal discounts. The past decade proves patience saves at least 30%, sometimes more. Emotional buying feels righteous during chaos, but emotion never writes rebates. The only winners during spikes are factories and middlemen. Everyone else tallies losses once calm returns. Resist the siren call, keep your powder dry in every sense. And remember, tomorrow's clearance rack will always arrive, usually faster than the headlines fade. Discipline is its own dividend, letting you stack when prices sag and freeing up hard cash for more useful gear like medical kits or water filtration. Regulation turns ammo from asset to liability overnight. Californians learned this when Proposition 63 imposed background checks for every purchase. Plenty of residents held garage-sized stockpiles, confident they could liquidate if bills piled up. Once the law kicked in, private transfers required licensed dealers' fees and paperwork. Casual buyers vanished, prices tanked locally, and pallets that once looked like currency now resembled contraband. Crossing state lines is no picnic either. New York forbids import of handgun ammo without going through a dealer. Haul your surplus from a freedom state into Albany and you risk seizure plus hefty fines. Canada tightened lead-core ammo import rules last year, trapping visiting hunters who assumed they could drive boxes home after the trip. Regulations move faster than Craigslist, so by the time you post an ad, your listing might be illegal. Civil asset forfeiture compounds the pain. Police seizing vehicles for minor infractions sometimes catalog excessive ammunition as suspicious property. Fighting to reclaim it costs more than the ammo's depressed resale value, effectively torching your money. Federal shipping rules pile on with hazmat surcharges and carrier refusals, hemming you inside shrinking local markets. Politicians claim these hurdles deter criminals, yet criminals keep stealing guns while lawful owners eat the paperwork buffet. Meanwhile, inflation sneaks in because vendors pass compliance costs to buyers. Your stash loses purchasing power even if nothing else changes. The smart move is staying agile. Keep surplus quantities beneath whatever threshold your jurisdiction deems curious. Follow legislative trackers and newsletters so proposals don't blindside you. If a bill looks likely, sell extras early rather than ride the ban hammer down. Laws rarely roll back. They layer like sediment, crushing liquidity a few inches at a time. Remember, freedom lives upstream of government, but market value lives downstream. Keeping ammo liquid means staying ahead of the regulatory tide before it freezes your once prized hoard in bureaucratic amber. Except that compliance itself drains value. Fingerprint fees, mileage to certified vendors, and mandatory record retention soak up both cash and time, proving that law can quietly siphon wealth even without direct confiscation. Prepper lore swears ammunition is the ultimate barter chip for collapse, but reality gets messy when you try to swap brass for bread. A local radio group hosted a barter meet last month after a typhoon knocked out power. People wanted AA batteries, canned protein, and gasoline siphon hoses. The guy dragging a dolly stacked with 32 ACP and 7mm Mauser went home empty-handed. His calibers matched nobody's guns, and folks hesitated to trade food for rounds that might jam an heirloom rifle. Trust is another hurdle. Handing live cartridges to strangers raises liability fears. If the buyer pops one and a casehead failure injures them, the blame may land back on you in civil court. That risk climbs if corrosion specks the brass or if home roll handwriting replaces factory head stamps. Under stress, nobody wants that drama. Reliable barter goods are universal low risk and instantly verifiable. Think Bic lighters, water filters, painkillers. Ammo only meets those standards when it's common, clean, and packaged in manageable lots. Perception shifts with circumstances. Early pandemic days saw 12-gauge shells trade nearly dollar for dollar against N95 masks. By the third wave, masks flooded markets, but primer shortages made shot shells king. Barter value is fluid, so preppers need to watch local consumption patterns rather than national headlines. If your neighborhood ranges echo with 9mm and .223 fire, those calibers will fetch favors later. Obscure cartridges won't. Another snag involves storage footprint. Lugging bulky cases between meetups gets old fast, especially with fuel prices high. Smaller denomination goods move quicker because buyers aren't forced into big commitments. Break your ammo into zip-tied 10-round bundles sealed with date stamps to mimic currency notes in useful increments. Ultimately, you prepare to thrive, not merely survive a swap meet. Goodwill skills and community ties hold more enduring purchasing power than any pile of cartridges. Treat ammunition as one tool among many, not the solitary key to future prosperity. Cultivate variety in both calibers and commodities. If you have additional tips, drop your thoughts in the comments. People want to hear your lessons, regrets, and wins. Hit like if this video saved you from a future mistake, share it with your prepping circle, and don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell icon for more no-nonsense prepper content.